Good evening and welcome to the Township of Woolwich Council meeting on December 12th, 2022. We are now live on YouTube. I'll start with roll call of council. I'm Mayor Shantz, am present and chairing this meeting. Councillor Bryant.
Present.
Councillor Burgess.
Present.
Councillor Cadeau.
Present.
Councillor Grant.
Present.
And Councillor Schwint.
Present.
Thank you. Can I get a motion that council reconvenes in open session, please? Moved by Councillor Bryant, seconded by Councillor Cadeau. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I would start by acknowledging the land on which we live has been here from time immemorial, and that Indigenous people have also lived here from time immemorial. I thank the Shinaton, also called the Attawandaron or Neutral people, and the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee people who have lived here and cared for this land and who continue to share and steward this land with us. May we together learn to care for each other, our flora and fauna, and the land that sustains us. So typically I start council meetings with a moment of silence, and you can reflect in whatever way you wish to reflect during that time. And I sometimes will give a suggestion on a current event, but you can feel free to use the short moment in your own way. Tonight, I think as we begin our first really businessy council meeting together, let's remember the people we serve and the reason that we're here. In particular, in this season, let's think of too many people in our communities who don't have enough to eat or don't have a roof over their heads. So let's take a moment. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we have one item to come forward from closed session this evening, and that is appointment to the Woolwich Environmental Advisory Committee. That's a new committee of council. So the item is that the Council of the Township of Woolwich, considering report C21-2022 respecting e-scribe minutes, appoint the following individuals to the Woolwich Environmental Advisory Committee for a term ending on May 14th, 2027, or until successors are appointed. Art Timmerman, Chris Snyder, Lindsay Joseph, Rebecca Schwartz, Richard M. Patrone, Tova Davidson, and Dan Van Hastrak. And that council amend the terms of reference to allow 7 members on the committee. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Grant, and seconded by Councillor Cadeau. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We also have minutes from a special council meeting, October 31st, 2022, the inaugural council minutes from November 28th, and the committee of the whole minutes from December 5th. Can I have, are there any concerns with those minutes? Can I have a mover and a seconder? Then Councillor Schwint, seconded by Councillor Burgess. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have no public meetings, but we have a couple of presentations, and just for the benefit of council, we have presentations and we have delegations. Presentations are usually people that we've invited in to speak, and so we don't have a particular time frame on them, although we'll ask them to be reasonable in their time allotments. So the presentations that we have this evening, you had asked specifically to have a little more information on some of our more social agencies. And so that's what these presentations are about. And then the delegations will be more specific to the grant applications. So our first, so this evening we have 3 presentations regarding the 2023 annual grant requests, who we've invited to present. This is a problem when I go off script. Later in the meeting, we'll hear from staff regarding the grants report, as well as from 3 other applicants. So we're going to start this evening with Kathy Harrington from Community Care Concepts of Woolwich, Wellesley, and Wilmot about their 2023 annual grant requests. And Kathy, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor Shantz, councillors, staff, and guests. I've brought along a presentation that I believe is also in your package. So I'm just going to try and pull it up if I can see my screen here. Sorry about that. Okay, so my goal tonight is to orient you to the work that we do at Community Care Concepts and to talk about the current concepts in which we're operating. So for those of you who might not be familiar with our service, we're a nonprofit charitable organization, and our focus is to provide services and supports that help seniors and what we refer to as adults with unique needs to live independently in their own homes. So our focus is on the health, safety, and welfare of our local residents. We serve the 3W townships. The grant that we're applying for through the community grants process will go directly towards serving residents in Woolwich Township. It's important to understand that we are the only nonprofit providing home support services in the catchment area, and we are determined to be an essential service within the healthcare continuum. So sometimes people get a bit confused in terms of the role that we have. They're familiar with overall home and community care services. So just to help to explain where we fit in the service delivery continuum, home and community care across the province of Ontario consists of two main components. Many of you may be familiar with Home and Community Care Support Services, which is formerly the LIN or CCAC. And that's an agency that's created by the Government of Ontario to coordinate in-home and community-based care. So they would provide things such as PSW support, occupational therapy, physio, and other medical supports, as well as for those residents who need access to long-term care. Within the broader continuum, though, there's a whole group of services that are referred to as community support services, and that's where our organization fits. We're part of a larger group of nonprofits that provide what I would refer to as non-medical community-based supports, helping people to live in their homes for as long as they're able to do so. And the support that is provided in our community to individuals may include both components of these services. In some cases, we may be the only provider, and in other cases, many adults are served through our colleagues at Home and Community Care. While a large portion of the clients that we serve are seniors, we're also serving many individuals, many adults with age-related illnesses. So as an example, they may be younger than 55, but perhaps have early onset dementia. We're serving a variety of individuals with disabilities, both short-term disabilities, such as a hip or knee replacement, but also many more with permanent disabilities such as ALS, MS. We're also seeing an increasing number in our community of adults who face challenges that impact their ability to live independently. And it's important to recognize that anyone in our community who fits this profile can access our service. No referral is required. So to help explain a bit about our history, we're very proud of our roots within Woolwich Township. There's a long history in this community that extends far beyond the term of our organization, where local churches prepared and delivered meals for seniors and others in their congregation. And back in 1985, volunteer efforts were formalized through the development of Woolwich Home Support Services, and the launch of Meals on Wheels occurred in our community. Over the next 37 years, the services and the geographic area expanded based upon the needs of residents. And so our name changed from Woolwich Home Support to Community Care Concepts to reflect that enhanced scope. The organization today, our main office is on Arthur Street in Elmira. We have located over this past year on Oriole Parkway, where we moved our adult day program from its former site at Barnswallow Place. We also have a satellite office in New Hamburg. We are a home-based customized service delivery model, so much of our work happens in individuals' homes to support the needs and wishes of the individual and caregiver. But we're also co-located across many community settings. So you'll find our community programs through a variety of community centers, churches, and other community-based locations. Our services evolve over the course of the year to meet the needs of individuals and communities we serve. We currently have 25 staff and 98 volunteers affiliated with our work. The number of volunteers is down a bit compared to pre-pandemic, where we would have had about 30 more volunteers than what we currently have. And currently our volunteers contribute in excess of 5,400 hours annually. We're funded through Ontario Health, the Province of Ontario, our federal government, the United Way, each of our townships. We're very fortunate to benefit from donations of our local community. And in some cases, clients pay fees for the services that they receive. So to help to set the context, we believe very much that for people to age well in the community, they need these 5 domains of service. So certainly we need to focus on their physical and mental health. Adults need access to physical exercise. They need good nutrition. But in the center, you'll see the importance of meaningful engagement or social contact. All of these components are critical to helping people to age well in the community. But maintaining social connections is considered one of the most protective factors in aging well. Our services are really focused on these components. So our services are spread across a broad continuum, from prevention programs that focus on keeping people active and connected in their community, many outreach activities where we make an effort to identify individuals who may require a bit more support. We're offering customized home support services to support independence, whether it be short-term or ongoing. And in many cases, we're reducing the risk of hospitalization for many of our vulnerable residents. For those that are hospitalized, we're supporting the transition from hospital to home, but we are also supporting individuals with complex care needs as they stabilize in the community and or wait for transitions to other levels of care. So perhaps they're on a waiting list for long-term care, or perhaps their families have chosen not to place them into long-term care and trying to support them in the community. And again, the services are customized to the needs and wishes of the individual and caregiver. So you see a wide variety of services that we offer in the community, from Meals on Wheels, community dining. We have a transportation program to help people get within and beyond the community to medical and other appointments. Lots of practical home support, so things like helping with home maintenance, grocery shopping, homemaking, doing some wellness checks. Our adult day program is supporting some of our most vulnerable residents across our community. About 80% of participants in our day program have some form of dementia. We're partnering with many of our local service providers. So as an example, in our day programs, we partner with Woolwich Counseling to offer a range of caregiver support. But we're also focusing on a variety of social and active living programs, such as exercise and falls prevention, variety of outreach programs, and programs that get people out and connected. We're doing a significant amount of work in helping people transition from hospital to home, and overall supporting care planning, navigation, and referral. To help you to understand the current context in which we're working, 16% of this township's population is age 65 and older. That's higher than the regional rate for older adults, and it's anticipated to climb at a quicker rate in the township than in other parts of the region. Certainly, if you asked any individual, their desire would be to stay at home and in the community for as long as possible. And certainly the provincial direction and policy reinforces this focus. But with challenges in other parts of our health system, including demands on hospitals, the shortage of PSWs, and wait lists for long-term care, many are living in the community with multiple health needs and increasing complexity. The pandemic has had a significant effect on isolation among older adults, on their mental health and wellness, and we've seen an overall deterioration in the health of many. Within our organization, we are seeing an unprecedented level of demand for services and certainly increasing complexity. We're also seeing increasing requests for subsidy among our clients. So while we make an effort to keep our services as low as possible, the fee for our services as low as possible, it is still difficult for many to afford, and so we're continuing to subsidize. And it's important to recognize that based upon our current capacity, we're prioritizing the amounts and types of services to support the most essential needs and our most vulnerable residents. To help you to understand the impact of our work, we currently serve over 5,000 individuals a year, with 39% or 1,950 clients living in Woolwich Township. We're now serving more in the Township of Woolwich than we did as an entire organization 10 years ago. And one of the areas which demonstrates the most significant growth is the demand for our Meals on Wheels. So Meals on Wheels, which provides a hot meal delivered by volunteers to older adults at home, not only provides nutrition, but provides an important safety check. We've seen a 50% increase in the demand for our meals. So last year as an organization, we delivered approximately 29,000 meals, with over 19,000 meals served in Woolwich Township alone. In terms of overall units of service last year, we would have provided over 62,000 units of service across our variety of services, and again, approximately 39% of that is within Woolwich Township. We have a couple of initiatives that I wanted to highlight in terms of our work across Woolwich Township. And while we are supporting residents with that whole range of services, we're particularly proud of our outreach program. We have 2 senior support workers assigned specifically to Woolwich Township. And these are your good neighbors, good sons, good daughter roles, and really trying to provide flexible, adaptable support to help people get over a hurdle. That program has had a significant uptake, and we could certainly expand the number of outreach staff. We're very proud of our new space at Oriole Parkway, and not only is it home to our adult day program, but we're offering an increasing amount of caregiver supports. And this past year, we launched the regional memory clinic there so that families who have a family member with dementia and need a diagnosis and that wraparound support can come to Oriole Parkway and get that level of support. Certainly doing a lot of collaboration with our colleagues at fire, bylaw, and police to serve the needs of our vulnerable residents. We're expanding now that the pandemic, we're through the other side. We're back to promoting our gentle exercise and falls prevention programs. This is a key program for us, as falls are the leading cause of health decline. And it's been proven that participating in 3 45-minute classes each week, we can have a significant reduction in the level of falls and health decline in older adults. We're launching drop-in programs at the Breslau Community Center again and across many other community centers. For those of you within Elmira, tomorrow night, you'll find us over at EPA as we're hosting a Christmas dinner for some of our more vulnerable residents. And we're proud of our Umbrella Fund, which is a fund that supports unique needs and the costs of those supports that are not covered anywhere else in our community. To give you an idea of what lays ahead for our organization, we're very pleased that we've been appointed as the lead agency in Waterloo Region for the Let's Go Home or LEGO initiative. We're working with all hospitals across Waterloo Wellington to support the transition from hospital to home for vulnerable older adults. And within that support, we've been able to provide access to a complimentary bundle of meals, rides, homemaking, and other supports for up to 6 weeks to help support the stabilization of vulnerable older adults in our community. So that's a significant program that we're just in the process of getting underway. And again, we'll be the lead across Waterloo Region for that. We're also looking forward to working with our colleagues across the rural agencies, so across not only Woolwich, Wellesley, and Wilmot, but also North Dumfries Township. And you'll hear more about this the work that we're doing, but we're developing a rural service strategy. So trying to map who's being served through our agencies, who's not being served, what's offered, what are the gaps. And our goal is to develop a broader upstream rural strategy and action plan that addresses the gaps while exploring new ways that we work together. There's tremendous collaboration in our township. We're very proud to be part of a very strong service delivery system. We're very proud of the community support that we've continued to receive within Woolwich and our other townships. But I think that there's more that we can do to continue to respond to the needs. So I hope what I've done is help to orient you to the work of community care concepts. I'd be more than pleased to answer any questions. We're very thankful for the annual operating grant that we received through the township and look forward to working together to continue to meet the needs of older adults in our community. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Kathy. I can add that the organizations that you're going to hear from today, Community Care Concepts, Woolwich Community Services, and Woolwich Counseling Center, along with the Woolwich Health Center, work very collaboratively together across the townships. And I know David also sits on some committees that sort of work on all of these pieces and pulling them together. And I can tell you that that's quite unique in the region and likely across the province. So questions for Kathy? No? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in and giving us the background, and we will consider the grant requests in our budget process as our normal process.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Our next presentation is from Kelly Christie and Kylie Castro of Woolwich Community Services. Welcome, Kelly and Kylie.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz, and hopefully, and councillors and presenters this evening and community guests. I'm Kelly Christie, the Executive Director here at Woolwich Community Services, along with Kylie Castro, our Community Engagement Coordinator. And I'm here just to share a bit of information with you about Woolwich Community Services. So we are a registered charitable organization located at 5 Memorial Ave here in Elmira. And we do have a community hub location over at the Woolwich Memorial Center. We are governed by a volunteer board of directors. And like most grassroots agencies, we were started in several women's kitchens who got together about 48 years ago and enjoyed supporting their community members with childcare, Christmas hampers, food hampers. And in 1974, with the assistance of the Elmira chapter of Canadian Mental Health Association, we became a registered charity in 1976, and then were incorporated in 1980. And since its inception, we take pride in meeting the needs of the residents of Northern Wellesley community, as well as Woolwich Township, by listening to their different needs and wants and develop programs. So we always strive to support the residents in the most meaningful way possible. Recently, we reviewed our objectives and updated them a little bit. So our objectives of Woolwich Community Services are to offer the residents information, referrals, individual supports, programs, and services. And those are to meet their basic and personal needs. So they vary day to day, and every day is a new day, which you're going to learn from our presentation this evening. So our vision is to make a difference in Woolwich and Northern Township of Wellesley. We're building a safe, supportive community by providing the opportunities and resources for all the residents in Woolwich and Northern Wellesley. And we do that with integrity, respect, innovation, and empowerment, meeting the participants where they are in their life and listening to their choices and supporting them in their decisions. We have 8 core programs. We have and within those core programs, we have approximately 20 supporting programs. So the first is the Community Information Center. So as I mentioned, it is at 5 Memorial Ave. It's the first contact for people requiring services. We've have over 8,000 inquiries in any given year. And we will, people can phone us, come in person. We offer a variety of government applications, birth certificates, social insurance numbers, employment insurance, housing supports. And we can contact agencies on behalf of people. We can fill out forms with people online, or just simply give information to participants so they can call themselves. We also, within the Information Center, have employment services. And those are for people who are looking for work. We have a job board, or for employers that are looking to hire people, they can post jobs as well. We have a couple computers where residents can come and do job search, resume writing. We are partnered with Conestoga Career Center, and we're really excited to say that they are coming back into the office starting on Monday. So every other Monday, there will be an employment counselor here to meet with people to do resume writing, job searching supports, meet with our local businesses and support the local businesses as to what they may need to get qualified employees. They will also offer assistance and information about retraining and apprenticeship programs. We'll do printing and faxing and photocopying for people as well, looking for jobs. We have a caring program which offers drives to medical and physiotherapy appointments for residents who do not have a car or any other means of transportations. We will also assist with referrals to, Kiwanis Transit and Community Care Concepts for transportation assistance. We have a mobility loan cupboard here, which people truly, really seem to appreciate. So we loan out crutches, wheelchairs, walkers to anyone who may need them for 3 months. And then if they need an additional extension, they just call in. However, if they need something more permanent, we would assist them in filling out application for assistive device or where to purchase a wheelchair or walker. We also have the income tax clinic. So we have qualified Canada Revenue Agency volunteers who are trained to support people with getting their income tax completed and filed. So these are simple income tax for low income earning households. And last year we did 235 applications for income tax. We also have the public health nurses are here on Friday afternoons. That is a new program within our agency, and we're just getting the word out. So we've had several people stop in and gather information for the public health nurses. And then we have another program is the community and individual support programs. So we have a staff member who can support people where they're at, short and long-term support. We can advocate for them, support them finding counseling, do some crisis intervention, and mediate obstacles with the township or government agencies. So if we've got some bylaw issues, they need their lawnmower fixed so they can get the grass cut, or we need to help them get a tow truck to move the car, those type of things. We can support them. As I say, every day is a new day. We have a backpack program. So at the third week in August, just before school, we offer backpacks and school supplies to families in the community, and we provided 148 backpacks to children this year. Again, most of our programs are seeing an increase this year compared to previous years. For example, last year we did 118 backpacks, so it's up substantially. I think fairly unique to Woolwich Community Services is our birthday present cupboard. So we offer birthday presents for families who are struggling to purchase a gift to give to their own children, as well as when the children get invited to a birthday party, it's very difficult to find the funds to purchase a gift to send their child to this fabulous social event. So we will provide a birthday present for the child to take to the birthday party so they can attend. We have a Lanix Learners Program. We partner with Lanix and they provided us with funding because one of the gaps we found was that music and art-based programs were not being funded. We have the Canadian Tire Jumpstart program for physical activity and recreation, but the music and arts were lacking. So we have a partnership with Lanix and can pay for children to participate in programs. For adult recreation, we have a partnership with the Township and we can fill out application. And again, individuals can receive a 10 pass and enjoy the programs, recreation programs that are sponsored by the Township. We have community gardens. So for a minimal fee, people can plant vegetable gardens, and we have 45 plots that fed 88 people. A new program we started within the individual support program was the Circle of Security Parenting Program. So that's a new program we started this year. And it's a program based on decades of research and helps secure parent-child relationships so they can be strengthened. We do also administer the Woolwich Resident Support Fund, which is a fund initiated by the Township Mayor and Council's staff. So in partnership with Community Care Concepts and Counseling Center and the Healthcare Center, we administer the funds to residents who have been negatively impacted by the COVID pandemic. We've also offered, in partnership with Kindred, budgeting program, Each One Teach One. We do some credit counseling referrals to Horizon. We offer a winter wear program for children partnered with Trinity United Church. And so families can give us a list of what they actually need for their child in winter wear. And then we introduced a new program for adults, a winter warm hug. We find that our growing population of service needs is with the adults 18 to 64. Even in the food bank, they've seen a 39% increase in this population. So we have offered them a $50 gift card to Walmart so they can purchase, hopefully they can purchase towards winter wear. This group of adults as well, we send them a birthday card during the month of their birthday with a $10 gift card in it, just to let them know that people are thinking of them and that they are supported. We've also initiated a rent support program 3 years ago. We wanted to support people who were struggling with paying their rent. So we support 7 residents of Woolwich with financial support so that they can live with more dignity during this difficult time with the high costs of rents. This week we are hosting our Christmas Goodwill program. So again, we are preparing 197 hampers for the residents locally. And that again is an increase from 180 for the last 2 years of hampers. And I can honestly say that everyone seems to be part of this fabulous program. Churches, service clubs, businesses, sports teams have really supported this program. And each family will receive clothing and toys from their specific wish list. and gift cards to the grocery store, which has been supported graciously by community members through the Service Club's collection of non-food fund drive. So one of our biggest programs is the food bank, which many people are familiar with, but surprisingly enough, many don't know that we are here. So there are I'm going to go quicker because I know I'm running out of time and we have tons of programs. We have a monthly food hamper. People call in their specific requests for the monthly food hamper. Normally they would have shopped for it, but now we are still building it during COVID situation. We will open up where they will start shopping on their own, but they also receive a $10 gift card now to Food Basics so they can make some own personal choices. So we've seen an increase in that program as well. We are, last year we gave out 703 hampers. We are at 409 already in the first 6 months. Our Lunch Crunch program is a weekly program of fresh fruits and vegetables, bread and eggs for children to receive weekly on a Monday. We have 143 children that receive 13,240 lunches. In the food hamper program, we have a summer food share program hosted by here on Mondays from the generosity of the Home Hardware Garden. And again, there's 75 families that come and visit that program. And we partner with Cobb's Bakery and we have a fresh bread program every Monday. And we have Fresh Food Fridays, which is a partnership with the Waterloo Region Food Bank. They deliver food, fresh fruits, vegetables, and dairy products. And again, you know, we have 98 different households coming for that program. During COVID, we offer a self-help fridge and food shelf. So it's here in the office. Anybody in the community can walk in and get a quart of milk and a dozen eggs from the fridge, as well as shop from the shelves of food we put out. We started a cooking program. We have 22 families involved in our cooking program. Our self-help fridge and food shelf doubled in the first 6 months. We've had over 704 visits. So the eligibility to some of the programs that I mentioned, in particular Christmas Goodwill, backpack food programs, we use their address. They need to live in Woolwich Township or Northern Wellesley Township, as well as we use the Stats Canada low income cutoffs as a guideline. But because that is so challenging for people, that really keeps them living in poverty, we did create a low income cutoffs plus program. We took the minimum wage of $15.50 and 40 hours a week and created our own chart so that more people would be eligible to receive support and programs within our community. We have a low German family support program, which serves 90 different families this year. They are supporting low German speaking Mennonites that have moved here from Latin America. And again, it's translation, interpretation, appointment supports and referrals, infant health care support. We have an English as a second language, a lot of filling out forms and fairly extensive family support. We have the Family Violence Prevention Program, which is partially funded through the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. And again, we are supporting 118 individuals with prevention and education. The education component of the program, prior to COVID, we were seeing over 4,000 children, students, and teachers through the program. And that is, again, picking up. The Family Support Program supports men, women, and children who are victims of family violence and support them with individual support, or we have different 4 stages of group. We do have a thrift shop located at our same building at 5 Memorial Ave, and that is one of our major fundraisers. And it really, we also utilize the thrift shop to support people, you know, when they're moving from a situation or they need clothing. Again, they would just meet with us and we would support them. Our off-site location is the community hub. It's located at the Memorial Center. And it began in 2001 as a youth center supporting youth grades 6 to age 18. Then we expanded more recently to include kids age 6 and up. It's basically a drop-in program. We have different supports and services to offer the kids. We do a Saturday program. These are free programs. And we're expanding and reinventing the youth center to a community hub. The youth center, as you can imagine, took a pretty devastating hit through COVID. And it's just building up that confidence and trust again for youth to come back and families to enjoy the space. So we are reinventing, we're a community hub. We are bringing back people to be valued and respected in a community space. We have a different lineup of guest speakers. We have a games cafe. We have Tops meets there on a regular basis. We do our Wacky Wednesdays, our Chat Chair Tuesdays. So Woolwich Community Services, as I say, offers a variety of programs. It just really, really varies. We have so many associated partnerships. House of Friendship provides a family outreach worker here. Canadian Mental Health provides self-help groups here. As I mentioned, public health, a nurse. And then we sit on a variety of committees. And as Mayor Shantz had mentioned and Kathy had mentioned, we work so collaboratively together in this community. It is stunning and amazing. And I just thank you for this opportunity and really appreciate the support. And if you do have any questions, but I would encourage all of you, all the counselors to come and visit us. Hopefully in the merry month of January, and have a tour and meet the staff and give us some of your input. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kelly, would you like us to arrange a tour for all of council together, or would you like to see the counselors sort of just drop in as it suits them? Which would work better from your point of view?
I would think individually. I think it's then we can talk about, you know, individual supports for their communities if that suits, and just have some brainstorming sessions on an individual basis. Okay.
So council, if you're interested in talking more to Kelly, you can stop in and do that. Are there questions? No. Thank you, Kelly. What strikes me from both your presentation and Kathy are a couple of things. The number of volunteers that make all of this possible, and the partnerships with between organizations and between community groups, churches, businesses. And the other thing that struck me was, because at regional council, we talk a lot about upstream prevention, and I would say you guys are doing that in spades, and I hope I hope you're getting the support that you need also from the region and from us.
Yeah, we're working on it, and I'd like to say too that we are doing all this with 9 full-time and 2 part-time staff, and we have about 88 volunteers currently. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, our final presenters are Beth Mason and Christine Birch of Woolwich Counseling Center. So if you want to turn your video on, there you are.
There.
Welcome.
Okay, let me figure out how I share my screen. working? There we go. Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm Beth Mason, the program director here at the Woolwich Counseling Center, and I have Christine Birch with me, our finance and operations coordinator. We're sitting in tonight for our executive director, Amanda Wood-Atkinson, who is off on holidays this week. Thank you, Mayor Shantz and councillors, for the opportunity to present our agency to you tonight. For those of you who may not be as familiar with us, just to share a little bit of history, Woolwich Counseling was incorporated in 1977 as a registered nonprofit charitable organization, and we've been providing professional counseling services in our community for over 45 years now. We are governed by an elected volunteer board of directors, and our services specifically cover the rural townships of Woolwich and Wellesley, but extend to those in the region of Waterloo and beyond as well. Our main office, as you see pictured here, is located on Elmira in the Joyce Gladwell building on the corner of Arthur and Memorial, right across from the high school. We also have a shared satellite space in Wellesley, and coming soon in January, we're very excited to expand a satellite space in Breslau. Our vision, as noted here, is that individuals, families, and communities in Woolwich and Wellesley are emotionally and mentally healthy. And our mission, we are Woolwich Counseling as a community-based counseling agency facilitating emotional and mental wellness. We create awareness, provide education, and promote preventative mental wellness strategies for individuals, families, and communities. We partner with other counseling and community agencies, two of which have presented earlier tonight, to act as a catalyst for healthy living. We're here to present to you tonight because we believe in the value of a township and community of people who are mentally and emotionally well. Healthy and happy citizens will enable the township to continue to grow into a vibrant and well-functioning community. And together with your support, we continue to work to make this happen. We're also positioned in the broader community as well. The Counseling Collaborative of Waterloo Region is a community-based partnership between 6 community counseling service providers within Waterloo Region, that being Horizon, KW Counseling, Porchlight Counseling and Addiction Services in Cambridge, Interfaith Counseling Center in New Hamburg, Shalom Counseling Services in Waterloo, and then ourselves, the Woolwich Counseling Center. We work together as independent agencies to provide services across the entire region and can be accessed either individually or through a shared intake system. We also work together with funding partners to offer funded counseling services through such groups as Region of Waterloo Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support Program, through the Ministry of Health funded doctor referrals and the Family Violence Prevention Program. Pictured here are our excellent staff and definitely growing team of therapists. We strive for excellence in client service, and so that means having a wide array of professional, qualified, and reputable counselors who vary in approach and specialty. We seek to find the right fit for clients and get them in for appointments as quickly as possible. Staff supports are in place to ensure our experienced multidisciplinary team is dynamic, clinically current, and responsive to the changing needs of our local community. Our counselors all have master's degree in either social work, psychology, and theology, and are registered with College of Social Work, the Association of Marriage and Family Therapy, or the Ontario Association for Counselors, Consultants, Psychometrists, and Psychotherapists. Some of our specializations include child therapy, play therapy, trauma, couples, our Mennonite population, parenting, and increasing with our seniors, to name a few. Some of our services include individual, couple, and family counseling across all age ranges, so including young children, right through to youth, adults, and our seniors. We also provide therapy groups for adults and children, as well as we've been expanding our programs for seniors. We also provide emotional wellness outreach and prevention workshops, which I'll get into a few more slides later on. And we also provide our 2S LGBTQ+ services and supports. We offer employee assistance programs to all of our local businesses. And we also provide counseling and therapy group work through the Family Violence Prevention Program. We've developed a very positive and highly respected and trusted working relationship with our local school board, where we have a formal contract in place, which allows us to provide direct counseling supports and therapy groups within all of our local Woolwich schools. Through our extensively trained diverse staff, we're able to provide counseling supports through various therapies and modalities, including play therapy with a registered play therapist, TheraPlay, attachment therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, narrative therapy, polyvagal therapy, emotion focused therapy, EMDR, cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness-based therapy, to name a few of them. And then through these various modalities, we support clients with all sorts of problems and concerns, including but not limited to anxiety and depression, of course, anger management, grief and loss, separation and divorce, stress management, eating disorders, trauma, including emotional, physical, sexual abuse or tragedy, gender and sexuality, assertiveness and communication skills, conflict resolution, bullying, parenting, self-esteem, and self-harming behaviors. As previously mentioned, we provide many different types of therapy groups and outreach workshops to our community for children and youth, adults, and seniors. So shown here are just a few of our popular children and youth programs, including No Need to Fret, which is an anxiety-focused group for kids, Conquering Teen Anxiety, again, anxiety focused group for teens, Stand Tall, which is an assertiveness building skills group for children, Empowering the Girl in Me, a social skills self-esteem program for preteen girls, and Connecting Mind and Body for Kids, which is a fun and engaging yoga and mindfulness children's group. BU is our 2S LGBTQ+ support group. Moving on to some of our adult programs. Some of our popular ones are our mindfulness therapy group, cognitive behavioral therapy group for insomnia, Building Better Boundaries, which is a psychoeducational therapy group that explores the importance of healthy boundaries in relationships, and then Practicing Positive Thinking and Gratitude workshop. A couple others, just to give you more examples, our Building a Resilience workshop, our 2S LGBTQ+ Understanding and Awareness workshop. Let's Talk About Mental Health workshop, which is about learning skills to support others, and Understanding and Preventing Eating Disorders. Shown here are some of our parenting workshops we offer in our parenting series, including Strengthening Children's Emotion Regulation Skills, Effective Problem Solving with our children and teens, Encouraging Diversity and Inclusivity in our children, and Helping Teens Manage Anxiety. And finally, some of our senior programs we provide include our Caregiver Support Group, Coping with the Winter Blues workshop, Coping with Loneliness workshop, Coping with Worries in Older Age, which is like a therapy group for seniors. And then I think most of those are pretty much all self-explanatory. All of our many programs with descriptions are listed on our website, so I encourage you to look at that further, and of course, reach out at any time if you have any questions about those specific programs. So moving on to our funding sources, as you can see here, we intentionally seek to diversify our revenue sources in order to be flexible and adaptable to the changing economic circumstances. We are dependent on all three areas to provide accessible and affordable services to all. Mental health needs impact all people. So regardless of who we are, we actively promote inclusivity and acceptance. We seek to be a physically accessible, visible local organization committed to promoting mental well-being for all. Our services all are available and affordable. As a nonprofit, we offer a sliding fee scale, recognize everyone has unique financial situations. We're committed to offering quality professional services in local locations, regardless of people's ability to pay. We have built strong partnerships in the community with many funders, as well as have supportive donors that enable us to subsidize counseling services for anyone who requires that subsidy support. Grants such as this makes our fee structure possible, and costs are specifically subsidized for the residents of the Township of Woolwich. Since our beginnings, we have steadily increased our program offerings every year and now offer supports to well over 1,000 unique individuals every year. To highlight some of the work we have completed over the past year, here are some statistics about the work we've completed. This year, we have offered close to 6,000 hours of sessions, increasing from approximately 5,000 hours in 2021 and 3,500 hours in the previous 2 years before the pandemic. Over the past 2 years, approximately 65 to 70% of the clients we served were residents of the Township of Woolwich, and we anticipate that percentage will likely remain consistent, although the overall numbers are continuing to increase. So based on these quantifiable numbers, we recognize that mental health supports are urgently required in the township. Our strategic plan has identified that we'd like to increase our physical presence across our service areas, which include both Woolwich and Wellesley townships. Specifically, over the past year, we've focused on increasing our presence in Wellesley through a partnership with the Woolwich and Wellesley Community Health Center. Looking into next year, we have plans to focus on increasing our presence in another community in Woolwich Township. So as mentioned, we're actively seeking out partnership opportunities to utilize space in Breslau. Based on growth information provided by staff from the Woolwich Township, we anticipate and will be planning for a significant increase in clients from this area in the coming years as we seek to establish a physical location in this part of the township. The grant money will also be used to meet the identified needs in Breslau specifically and help us to identify a more fulsome mental health supports in that part of our township. Currently, the majority of our clients are based in Elmira and surrounding area, and we want to more equitably serve the full breadth of our township's geography. We have a well-established relationship with Breslau Public School and have developed an extensive marketing plan for this area. So we're quite eager to get going on establishing a much needed physical presence and mental wellness support in that community. This particularly came to light for me after conversation with the school social worker in Breslau. She shared that Breslau Public School is a feeder school to Grand River High School in Kitchener. She noted that these students do not have fair access to counseling supports as they're bused from Breslau based on the school day schedule. And as a result, they don't have flexibility to attend a counseling appointment before or after school in Kitchener, and oftentimes can't get themselves to Elmira for the counseling support, unless, of course, their parents are able to bring them. She noted that distance to our Elmira location definitely has been posing a barrier for those adolescents who have needed our counseling supports. This is not okay. And so we've been invested in finding a location in Breslau that was accessible for these students, and luckily have located something just down the street from their bus stop. Woolwich Counseling is committed to delivering services whereby we're cognizant of the need to use resources optimally, and we believe that our counseling service offers a good return on investment. According to the World Health Organization, mental illness is the #1 leading cause of disability in the world and is the #1 cause of disability in Canada. The unemployment rate among people with serious mental illness is 70 to 90%. There is a 60% drop in family income when a breadwinner is diagnosed with mental illness. Mental illness costs the Canadian economy a staggering $51 billion a year, and each day 500,000 people will miss work due to mental health concerns. Each year, employers and insurers spend about $8.5 billion on long-term disability claims related to mental illness. So psychotherapy is often the first line and most important treatment in depression and anxiety and others. It augments the effectiveness of medication, lowers medical costs, improves recovery, and at times prolongs life. Over the next several years, Woolwich Counseling has plans to continue to increase services to meet the rising mental health needs of our community. We have been intentional at creating no-cost preventative mental health workshops that are available to the public at large in order to raise awareness and create opportunities for accessing support. An increased multi-year grant would allow us to have stability in planning and resources, in particular, as I mentioned, focusing on expanding services to the Breslau community to more effectively serve that part of the township, and increase services on children and youth needs as well as their senior needs. So thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear about our agency tonight.
Thanks for the presentation. Beth, are there questions? No, I don't see any. Wondering, you said you think you've found a location in Breslau, close
Yes,
to the bus stop. Do you have an opening date or an estimated opening date for that?
we're just waiting on some construction that needs to be done just internally to ensure that the space is confidential. So the owner of the business is just working with a few contractors right now. And as soon as we have that go, we were hoping to start beginning of January, maybe delayed a little bit, but we're still planning and working towards early of the new year.
That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, I don't see any questions here. So thank you very much for the presentation and for all the great work you do in the township. Do you want Alex to, there we go. Okay. Is that her screen or yours, Alex? There we go. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to delegations, but first we're going to hear from Clerk Smith about the Woolwich Pride one-time grant request. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to introduce the report I wrote for council here, and introduce the presenters for the Woolwich Pride grant request. So in October 2022, the previous council asked staff to connect with community groups to make Woolwich a more equitable, inclusive place, and this can include community events and celebrations. So the organizers of Woolwich Pride reached out to township staff, and both myself and the manager of recreation have been working with them to find a venue, determine grant eligibility, and work through some other township processes. We treated this grant request just a little bit different from the others for a couple reasons. One, because they're looking at organizing the first event, and they do want some certainty a little earlier in the year. So we're asking for pre-budget approval for their request. And then the second is staff are also recommending providing some in-kind support to the organizers, such as staff support and advertising on the township's website and social media accounts. I won't go too much into the request because the organizers are here and they'll tell you probably a lot better than I can about what they have planned. But staff are recommending granting the request of $1,775 for the event, and providing the in-kind support that we spoke about. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, are there questions for Clerk Smith before we get on to the delegations? Not seeing any. Okay, before we hear from the delegates, I have some instructions that I need to read. You have a maximum of 7 minutes to speak unless council or the clerk has set a different time. There'll be a timer on the screen and you'll hear a warning when you have 1 minute and then when your time is up. Once you're finished, please wait for questions of clarification from council. And when there are no more questions, yeah, we'll start it when they start. Yeah, okay. When there are no more questions, please turn your microphone and camera off again. You may listen into the rest of the meeting or leave when you want. Council discussion and debate will start when all of the questions of clarification have finished, but we're not really going to do a lot of debating on these this evening. That will happen at budget time. We are committed to promoting a safe, healthy, respectful, and positive environment during the meeting. Please be mindful of your words and actions, and remember the chair has the authority to stop the meeting or remove anyone who interrupts or makes derogatory statements about others. So with that, I will welcome Angie Melkin, Lisa Backman, and Sherry DeCare of Woolwich Pride Committee. Please begin when you are ready. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor Shantz, her esteemed councillors, fellow presenters, and delegates. My name is Sherry DeCare, and I come here today with Lisa Backman and Angie Melchin to present you with the opportunity to stand with members of our LGBTQ+ community in your township by lending your support to our Pride event we have scheduled for June 17, 2023. Events of the recent past have shed a light on our community that I believe not to be congruent with the experience that myself, my wife, and our 2 children have had since moving to Elmira over 9 years ago. We are active members of our community and proud to live here. We have already had a couple of enthusiastic meetings with township staff that have been both helpful and supportive. I certainly had my reservations about moving to a smaller community and being what some might consider to be a quote-unquote non-traditional family. I can tell you that we've all been met with love, support, and sometimes from the most unlikeliest of places. But in short, our efforts to put together an event in our community is not about me or Lisa or Angie. It's about all of us, the collective us. It's about providing a safe and affirming place for our children to grow and flourish and to feel that they are supported and cared for. It's to provide them with the role modeling as the adults in this community that actively work to include others that may be different from you and not to malign them. It's to provide visibility to both our LGBTQ+ youth and others to show that there is strength in our diversity and a place at our table for everyone. I understand that our event will be small in scale in comparison to other Pride events across this country and the world, but it could mean the world to just one child who may have no other access to visibility or support in their homes, communities, or families. I hope that you will lend us your support by approving our grant request, attending our event, and guide us in any other way that you see fit, so that we can prove together that small town does not mean small-minded. My good friend and ardent supporter, Angie Melchin, will now walk us through the list of community supporters wishing to work with us currently on this event and a rough sketch of the event agenda and activities. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. Hello, Mayor and elected council. Thank you for welcoming us here tonight. My name is Angie Melchin, and this is my daughter, Leah. We are very excited about Woolwich Pride. I come from a background of nonprofit fundraising and special events, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this movement here in Woolwich. I grew up here, and I already see a change in the diversity in which my children are experiencing, and it's amazing. So as Sherry mentioned, our event is booked for Saturday, June 17th. And it'll be held at Gibson Park here in Elmira from 1 till 4. So we've been slowly beginning to connect with organizations and businesses throughout Woolwich, and here are just a few that have already asked to be a part of the event. So we've got Arts Abound on board, Never Enough Time, the Gender, Sexuality and Alliance groups from both EDSS and Park Manor, Trinity United and Gale Presbyterian, both who have been very active affirming churches here in this community. We've got Spectrum, Waterloo Regional Library, Woolwich Counseling Services, and Woolwich Counseling Center. So as talking with these community groups, we've heard comments such as, "It's about time," or "We couldn't agree more," and they are very excited and passionate to join us. So we have a tentative schedule for events that Leah and I and Sherry and Lisa have been talking about, and here's an idea of what the event will look like. So we're going to have info tables of local programming and resources. Arts Abound is going to do their team performance at our event. We're going to have music and entertainment from local bands, maybe some family yoga. We're hoping to do an obstacle course, maybe a photo booth, some Pride-friendly story time. We're going to do parachute, lawn games. And what else should we do, Leah?
We might do face paint, a bouncy castle, and a magic show.
A magic show. Okay, so fingers crossed, everybody. So we're here tonight to formally ask you for your support as you were elected to represent the township. I know far too many people who grew up here, but unfortunately felt the need to move away to live a life in which they felt safe to do so. My hope is that we change this here and now. Woolwich is a great place to live, and my family is really proud to call it home. And we hope, but most of all, we hope that people who come to Woolwich Pride, they feel welcome, loved, supported, but most of all safe. We have applied for a special event grant with the hope that you can help us get Woolwich Pride off to a great start. And we are inviting the entire township and beyond to come out June 17th and celebrate Pride together as a strong, united community. So thank you for your time today, and we hope to see you and your families on June 17th at Gibson Park.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sherry and Angie and Lisa. Are there questions? Councillor Grant.
Through you, Mayor Shantz, to the delegates. This is more of a comment, but I think this is a wonderful event and would love to see this supported by council when budget comes around. And I look forward to celebrating Pride in Woolwich this year.
Thank you. It sounds like a great family day event with lots of fun things for everybody. So I guess we do have a recommendation on this one, don't we? Okay, if there's no more questions, we'll deal with the recommendation then. Okay, thank you to the three of you, the four of you. And we'll just take a look at this recommendation that the Council of the Township of Woolwich respecting the Woolwich Pride one-time grant request grant pre-budget approval of the $1,775 for the Woolwich Pride event and support the township continuing to provide in-kind support to the organizers, including staff support and advertising on the township's website and social media account. So we don't always do pre-budget approval on things, but as Jeff said, they're looking for that so that they can get on with the event. I guess I need a mover and a seconder before we discuss it. Moved by Councillor Grant, seconded by Councillor Cadeau. Is there discussion? Councillor Cadeau.
Is this the only event or anything else that we would be looking at pre-budget?
I will ask Clerk Smith for that.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz, through you. I can speak to the grants. This is the only pre-budget request we're making for grants. I don't know if there's any other staff coming forward with any other pre-budget requests, but at least for the grants portion of the budget, this is the only one we think needs to be or are recommending pre-budget approval for.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And
Yeah.
I guess I'll just follow up by, saying that I think that based on the value of this, it's not a whole lot of money. So I would think that the council could get behind supporting something like this, given, some of the history around some of these discussions. I think that it's the appropriate thing to do.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? I'll call a question then. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Getting on with the rest of our annual grants, I will call on Deputy Clerk Alex Smith.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Before you this evening is a report summarizing the 10 annual grant applications staff received during the annual grant application period in October. Following the closing of the application period, staff contacted all applicants and invited them to register to delegate at this evening's meeting to provide council with more information regarding their requests. 6 out of the 10 applicants are here this evening to present and delegate, and we have heard from 3 already. A final decision on grant requests will be made through the budget deliberation process in January. Staff will bring a further report to the January 16th budget meeting with a recommendation regarding the grants budget. The report for council tonight is for information only and no decisions will be made. And with that, if council has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Smith? Seeing none, then we'll hear from our delegations. And first we have Christine Webb of the Elmira District Horticultural Society. Welcome, Ms. Webb.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. My name is Christine Webb, and I'm president of Woolwich Gardeners. Officially, legally, we're known as Elmira and District Horticultural Society, but to make it a little bit more user-friendly, we call ourselves Woolwich Gardeners. We're part of the Ontario Horticultural Association, which also has a friendlier name, Garden Ontario, since 1900. Our general missions are, our mission is to encourage gardening, planting of trees, shrubs, and or flowers on public and private land, private property, educational support, community beautification, protection of the environment, and another important aspect is wellness through horticulture. We have currently about 149 members. In addition to organizing speakers and gardening events for members and the public, we maintain a number of flower beds in and around Elmira, including the North and South Welcome Sign Gardens, the Woolwich Community Services, Floridale Bridge and Fire Hall, Lions Park, Bristol Park Garden, Gibson Park, Union Cemetery, Woolwich Soccer Office, and Bresla Bridge Planters. As a nonprofit organization, we fund our activities, including a junior garden program, through our membership fees and events such as the garden tour or a plant sale, as well as any additional grants that we might get. Our monthly educational speakers, which we have at St. James Lutheran Church downtown, can be attended by anyone. They don't have to be a member of Woolwich Gardeners. They can just show up. We advertise in the Observer usually and in other online publications, but all we ever ask is a small donation. And if somebody shows up with no donation, they're not turned away by any means. So receiving a grant from the Township of Woolwich would certainly help us in keeping Elmira beautiful. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for keeping the town beautiful. Are there any questions? No, there are no questions. So thank you. We'll look at your grant request in the context of the whole budget in January. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Lori Detta from Foods for Kids Waterloo Region. Welcome, Ms. Detta.
I'm sorry about that. Just be a moment. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. Good evening, Mayor Shantz, councillors, guests, delegates, and fellow presenters. I do have a presentation to show you this evening. I'm just going to share my screen. And initially, I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about Food for Kids Waterloo Region. We are, my name is Lori and I'm the executive director. We are a nonprofit charitable organization that provides food to children ages 1 to 14 that have been identified in the school system as living with chronic hunger, or they're coming to school hungry. And they often come to school hungry, and they're often living off the school nutrition program. Now, it's estimated that there's approximately 3,000 children in Waterloo Region who go home to no food on weekends and school breaks. And kids aren't responsible for their circumstances, and they shouldn't have to go hungry because of them. Chronic hunger exists in our own backyards. There's so many children that are struggling with hunger, and they have unreliable access to food. It was estimated about 4 years ago that 10% of households in Waterloo region are severely food insecure. And there are many children who suffer from severe hunger and are unable to grow healthy socially, physically, mentally. Teachers often tell us they see the children that are unable to focus, they're unable to manage their behaviors, stay alert and learn. Consistent hunger, even just over weekends and school breaks, can set a child back for life. Right now, Food for Kids is currently supporting 1/3 of children in need. We are in 65 schools of 151 in Waterloo region, and our program continues to grow, especially the demand for it. Right now, we're seeing an increased call even from secondary schools for help. So in terms of the Township of Woolwich, it's estimated that there's approximately 25 or more children in need, just based on the information that we collected and projections. 2021 Stats Can census indicated there's probably about 290 children living with food insecurity in Woolwich, and I understand there's local services that are very supportive as well. There are 395 families who are living below the poverty line, and of course, many will include children. We have working with the schools, local schools, so far 15 children have been identified as living with chronic hunger at Conestoga Public School, John Mahood, and St. Teresa. And there will be more children in need as outreach occurs or as word gets out. This all really happened because a school social worker reached out in September. She works with 4 elementary schools and 1 secondary school, and she indicated there's a huge need in the Township of Woolwich. We are currently serving 8 children right now in the community until we can find more funding and resources. We can understand the need in the township. Just the location, it's difficult to get food from sources due to transportation or timing. Parents are often unable to get food due to they might have a disability, an illness, or it might be the hours they're working or not working, or the location they need to go to get the food. If they can get food from these sources, the families, it's often not enough food. And it's just imagine how many children are truly in need in the township at this time. Now, we often wonder why aren't parents feeding their kids? There's so many reasons why. Marriage breakdown, absent or single parents. Often we're supporting families, children who have lost a parent. Physical, mental disabilities, even addictions. Working poor, precarious work, double part-time jobs, people losing their apartments and homes. Job loss, inflation, increased food and housing costs, and many new Canadians seeking refuge use our program. And how we help. Our program is run through schools and addresses chronic hunger for the most severely food insecure kids in the region. And we provide nutritious food directly to the kids who have little or no access to food. We provide a really unique gap. We provide food packages directly to kids who have been identified as being at risk. And as mentioned, we're serving 1,050 kids right now. Our delivery methods ensure the kids get the food they need. Food banks and community resources exist, but not always accessible or simply can't provide enough. And school nutrition programs really help, but only when school is open, which is half the year. We feed children when they're not in school and they need our help the most. This is 40 weekends of the school year and 90 days of school breaks, or 170 days in total. And our packages are customized to take into account dietary restrictions, food allergies, religious beliefs. And that we support so many families who speak different languages, new Canadians, refugees, Indigenous people, and people of color. 47% of our food is a halal diet. 13.5% is allergy specific. Now, just a bit about our programs is we have a school weekend program where nutritious, kid-friendly foods are donated and purchased weekly. The volunteers, 800 volunteers, package and deliver food into bins for school. Volunteers deliver the packages to the kids, and our school break program functions the same way. How do we find at-risk kids? Referrals come from teachers and social workers who see the signs of hunger. When we feed kids, we change lives. I'm going to go right to the slide. We had a grant request of 25. We know there's 15 children in need in support. We estimate there's probably 30 to 50 children. It costs about $1,000 in food alone to support one child. Volunteers help support our program delivery, and we will of course work with the township and the social service organizations to make sure that we're reaching the kids that are living with chronic hunger the most. Thank you for this presentation. Really appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any questions? Councillor Cadeau.
Thank you, through you, Mayor, to the delegate, Lori. Sorry, just a quick question regarding the logistics. You know, you're headquartered in Waterloo, I imagine. What would be the logistics of getting some of these packages to the people that need it most in Woolwich? Is it going to be heavily reliant on volunteers to transport a lot of the food from Waterloo to some of these communities?
We're actually based in Kitchener at 10 Washburn Drive. And it's interesting, there's always a solution. And yes, we do rely on volunteers to deliver the food packages. Volunteers help us package the food, and they also actually deliver the food. We have about 4 staff and, like I said, 800 volunteers. So usually each community will drive volunteers. There's a lot of passion within the that inspires collective action. I will tell you, the social worker that I mentioned, she was willing to come and drive to our location and take food to children in need as well. But we always have the resources and the capacity and the willingness of volunteers to help support children who are at risk in the communities. We currently, sorry, just to mention, we currently deliver to Wilmot, we deliver to Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, Breslau, many different locations.
Any other questions? Councillor Schwint.
Sorry, thank you. I just want to follow up some comments you made earlier that struck home for me about collaboration. I was wondering if we could hear about collaboration, how you work with other agencies in the same realm that are, I guess, trying to provide a web so people don't fall through those cracks. Thinking of Nutrition for Learning, food banks in various areas, that type of thing. Is there a good collaboration between your groups?
It's interesting. We were founded in 2016, 5-6 years ago, and there was we were often rejected as being an organization that was necessary. We were found to be redundant or unnecessary, and it's only recently, where we've been around for so long and we're supporting so many children, that it's actually been identified that we are an important player in helping support children who are very at risk. And I can tell you, we're working with the Food Bank of Waterloo Region. From what I've just seen today with the Woolwich Community Services, we would love to work with local organizations as well, because there could be duplicate services. There could be something where perhaps we could reach out. I did it today, actually, for the secondary school I mentioned. I reached out to the Food Bank of Waterloo Region to see if they could support kids in the secondary schools, because our mandate is ages 1 to 14. And they said, yeah, sure, we're on it. So that's where we do work together. We find that because we're we receive no government funding, that we're really always trying to get donations, fundraising, grants, and just trying to work to serve more children. And we are collaborating more and more all the time. With respect to Nutrition for Learning, we've looked at ways that perhaps we could share space, but the space that they had identified fell through. So we're always willing to work together to do more. Always interested in doing as much as we can for the kids that are in need.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see any other questions, and my question was very similar to Councillor Schwintz. I think it would be worthwhile for you to have a conversation with Kelly Christie from Woolwich Community Services, because she gave a pretty in-depth explanation of their supports, and so it does sound like there could be overlap there.
Yes, there could be. It's just often it's children that are seen only by the teachers in the schools and the social workers that are identified. And now that teachers and social workers are reaching out to us, it would be good to also connect with Kelly as well.
Okay, thank you. We'll look at your request in our budget process in January.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, thank you. And our last delegate this evening is Adrienne Carter from Three Sisters Cultural Center. Welcome, Ms. Carter. Good to
Hello, Mayor Shantz. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. Stand by. Okay. Go. Okay. Thank you, Mayor Shantz, councillors, staff, guests, for giving me the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I am Adrienne Carter, the CEO of the Three Sisters Cultural Center in St. Jacobs. As you can see, our building is now renovated. We took the old Tolman Tire Garage and turned it into a cultural center that houses 7 art studios and an event space. This Cultural Center provides support space for the creative industry, for people to easily engage with local artists. Our renovations, as I said, are complete, including the parking lot just got finished, and we have installed 2 EV charging stations in the lot for the village. So our 7 art studios are now fully occupied. This gives space for artists to both work and sell their art in the same space, which is in a prime tourism destination. So it gives them ample opportunity to sell their work. And artists here also engage in all our workshops and exhibitions and other activities that we host. And so we have been quite busy since we opened last April. We've run a series of different kinds of events, from drag queen shows to book launches to exhibitions. As council last year supported us in our Moving Forward Beyond the Mask exhibition that looked at how the community dealt with and is dealing with the pandemic. We now have 3 employees in the center and a group of growing volunteers who help us with all these activities. We also do a lot of live music shows, including our 2nd annual Lunar Fest that happened last August, and we're looking to run that again next summer. We're finding that the center is really becoming a gathering place, a community hub, if you will, where people come to gather. Service clubs have their meetings, there's social events, there's release parties, private functions, and of course we run a series of workshops throughout the year, a couple of times a week. So it really is becoming a community focal point for people. And so our 2023 plans are just dynamic and engaging. And this year we are going to reintroduce the Quilt and Fiber Arts Festival. So this festival was about to celebrate their 25th anniversary when COVID hit, and the volunteer collective decided to retire the show and they weren't going to bring it back. So with their blessing, they allowed the Three Sisters to reintroduce this festival back into our community on one condition: we had to give it a new name. So we are calling it the Weft Fest. Weft is a weaving term. You have a loom and you have the warp, which are the the yarn that goes with the loom, and the weft is the string that kind of makes the pattern. So weft for us means the Woolwich expressions and fiber traditions, and we will run this exhibit, this event really from March 23rd to April 2nd. It's a 10-day festival. And we will bring back all the traditional and favorite activities of the original festival. So this includes things like the fiber art auction, a fashion show and sale, workshops that will be held not only in our space, but in other art studios throughout the township, as well as a vendor's market where artisans can buy stuff for their own craft. And of course, we will have quilt displays across the township in both St. Jacobs and Elmira. The original festival was quite large. It went all the way down to New Dundee. So we're going to start this a little smaller and just start in St. Jacobs and Elmira. We will bring back the beloved tea room where people can gather and relax. And we've invited some guilds to come and put on shows to help bolster their own awareness and build up their membership. So as we're starting to do the planning for this activity, bringing it back after 2 years of not being in our community, we have found that we're getting a lot of support from a lot of different people who participated in the Quilt and Fiber Arts Festival in the past and are eager to see it come back to our community again. So this includes quilters, the ladies who ran the event in the past. They are lending us their quilt stands and space. So it's really become quite a community endeavor again, which is wonderful. And so I'm here tonight to encourage the council to support this festival as we really look at all the various different venues that we would like to use across both the village and Elmira, as we bring the quilts to lots of different locations, and some of the activities, like I said, the workshops and maybe some music events and that kind of thing. So it will hopefully be a great ton of fun in the last few weeks of March. And yeah, so that is my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions? Okay, seeing no questions, thank you. I know the Quilt Fest was always very well attended and a fun event. So we'll look at your full request during our budget process.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. Jeff, are there any unregistered delegates in the meeting?
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. Through you, there are no unregistered delegates this evening.
Okay, and this report is for information only, and we'll look at that during the budget process in January. But are there any other questions for staff before we move on? Councillor Grant.
Sure. Sorry, let me just scroll to I was just looking at the breakdown of the impact of budget, and it appears that we have some rolling kind of expectation for budget built in. Could we just get some more clarity on that?
Clerk Smith or Ms. Smith?
Through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councillor Grant. I think what you're referring to is in the past we've had some of our social agencies, council has given pre-term approval. Is that what you are referring to?
Through you, Mayor Shantz, to Clerk Smith. That is just kind of doing some quick math. It looks like there's been a reduction in some of the amounts just based off of applicants who didn't apply this year.
Yes, that's correct. So from the 2022 amounts to the 2023 amounts, some have been reduced based on what they've asked for. Sorry, I think I need a little bit more clarification on that again. Sorry, Councillor Grant, through you, Mayor Shantz. Can you just clarify that one more time?
Yeah, sorry. I also liberal arts major. So when it comes to budgets, I'm also a little shaky sometimes. I'm just wondering, for example, like there was the Woolwich Community Services, they're showing an 11,590 reduction. The St. Boniface and Maryhill Historical Society did not apply, so that's an $1,800 reduction. So I'm just wondering if that, because we've accounted for that in previous years, if that is essentially funds that are available in the budget.
Okay, I think I can take this one, but might need the help of a Clerk Smith. But through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councillor Grant. So the budget has not, the grants budget has not been set out yet. Staff are still currently working on a draft of the budget. We will now go based on we'll kind of draft based on what has been done in the past and what has been requested now, and based also on discussions that occurred today. Staff will prepare a recommendation for the grants budget to be included in the 2023 draft budget, operating budget, I believe. So those reductions, those are just showing from the 2022, what was granted, and then what the requests we've received, what was given in the past. What those reductions are just showing what's different this year from last year. So you would notice that Woolwich Community Services in the past, including the past 4 years, requested 2 operating grants, one specifically for the youth center and a more generalized operating grant. And this year they have only opted to request the one grant, which is kind of combined. In that they've also increased what they asked for in the previous years.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you. Then we will move on. There is no unfinished business. We have a couple of items on the consent agenda. Just go back. Here is there anything on the consent agenda that we'd like to pull? Actually, before we do that, Clerk Smith has an update on the tweak appointment.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. Yes, through you, we did find one additional appointment. So the member that council appoints to sorry, I'm just trying to find my notes here. The member that council appoints to tweak also sits on the Woolwich Environmental Enhancement Committee. So we've reached out to Councillor Burgess about sitting on that as well, and he's agreed to do that. Sorry? Woolwich Health Committees. I'm sorry. Thank you, David. I was trying to go off memory because my notes disappeared. But the member also sits on Woolwich Healthy Communities. And then Councillor Burgess had also asked to sit on the Elmira Business Improvement Area, and we can just leave that with he was okay with leaving that with Councillor Cadeau, and Councillor Cadeau was okay with that. So for council's convenience, we have amended the recommendation that on the summary of recommendations for the appointments of councillors to advisory committees.
Okay, and that is listed on the first item. As you see in your package. Is there anything else that anyone wants to pull or discuss from the consent agenda? Can I have a mover and a seconder then? Councillor Bryant, seconded by Councillor Cadeau. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on then to staff reports. And we will start with Clerk Smith on the phased hybrid council meeting plan.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz, through you. I wanted to provide this memo for council just to get your feedback on allowing, excuse me, allowing hybrid council meetings again. I've given you a little bit of background in terms of the switch that we made during COVID-19 to continue business. When you're considering moving back to a hybrid type meeting, you may want to think of some COVID-19 implications. I have included those there. In terms of delegates and presenters, we're recommending, at least to start, that we sort of take a slow, I guess, first step, allowing delegates, presenters, and anyone who registers to participate in the meeting, just so we can control numbers. In terms of technology and practical concerns, if you're willing, I'm going to try something. I will show you what we can do with a screen. So if council were to look at that, that is the entire chamber's one screen. No one would need their own individual videos, and it sort of does invite the public even more into the building. Although you can probably see, you can't see individual mouths moving, or even some of the gestures might be harder to see on that larger screen. So that is up to council if we want to go that far zoomed out. Finally, if we do move to this, there's some other practical concerns that I've noted in the report, the memo, that I'm happy to talk about. And then finally, for timing, if you did want to return to an in-person public attendance, a hybrid meeting, we would recommend doing it January 23rd at the earliest. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And really, I guess, looking for any direction that council might have for staff in terms of allowing hybrid council meetings.
Thank you. Councillor Bryant.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. Just a comment. I think we need to keep an eye on the numbers as far as the respiratory illnesses, because they are saying they're expecting a rise again after Christmas with all the get-together. So I think we need to be cognizant of potential for infecting staff and council going forward.
Okay. Councillor Schwint and Councillor Grant.
Yeah, I'd like to thank staff for the report and the options in it. I guess when I've been around the township buildings and events, I'm not seeing COVID distancing being required in other places. So it begs the question in my mind, why are we different here in council? And as the face of the government, we should allow our population to be as close as possible, I would think. So I would be strongly in favor of trying to have delegations and presenters having the option to come in the room here with us to do their presentations, starting with the budget, because the budget's one of the key things we're going to be doing in the next 12 months. And to have another 6 or 8 people in this room, I think it's providing that closeness that we should have with our community. At the same time, I don't believe staff should be feeling they have to be in this room with us if they're not comfortable, and same with us as council. If we're not comfortable, we should have the option not to be physically here, but Zoom in. But I do believe the converse is true, and the public should have the right to be here as well.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Grant.
Through you, Mayor Shantz, to staff. I'm in support of a hybrid models, more from the perspective of an accessibility angle. Just acknowledging that some individuals may not be able to get here physically. I think a hybrid model allows us to be more adaptable for those individuals.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Cadeau.
Yeah, thank you. Through you to staff. I don't have much to offer that hasn't been said already. I think that what COVID has shown us is that we can do things differently and just as effective. And I think that it makes sense for, staff, especially who may not have a large role to play in some of the proceedings, to have that ability to kind of zoom in and just do their bit for however long and then zoom back out. That it just offers that level of flexibility that is highly desirable for many people, I would think.
Okay. There was a question about Zoom or the camera. What did you think, Councillor Cadeau?
I will start with that one because I'm the one most impacted, and I would hate for people to gradually see my bald spot increase over time. So I don't know that that's the most appealing one for me.
Perhaps we could change the configuration. Councillor Grant, did you have your hand up? Okay.
I will say in all seriousness, I don't know that that's the most effective way to be able to visualize councillors' responses and just nonverbal modes of communication that people would see, especially having backs turned to the camera and stuff like that. So I have concerns with that.
Okay, I'm like 99% sure I know the answer to this, but there's really only one lens up there. You couldn't have one on the speaker on the chair and then one also showing the room plus the Zoom.
Through you, Mayor Shantz, that's right.
Yeah.
We only have capabilities in this room of one video shot at the same time. We do have 2 screens. So we could show, well, I can show you if you'd like. We can show the an alternative view. Oops, oh my God. I'm still working on this, but there you go. You could see that view. Unfortunately, that kind of cuts Mayor Shantz out of the picture. Definitely some room reconfiguration that we can do. For any council member that isn't aware, we used to have 2 members at each of your desks, and you were much closer together, and everyone sat along the oh my God, my right, that wall. Everyone sat along that wall, and then there were tables on the other side for staff. We could always go back to a configuration like that if you want to be closer together, and we could sort of tailor the camera angle to facing towards you for the most part. We've looked at a bunch of different options. It's really up to you. Or I mean, if you want, I can come back and give you some more pieces, but the Zoom generally looks okay if you're comfortable with that.
Through your Mayor Shantz to Clerk Smith. I think with a hybrid model, the closer kind of perception of the council gives that sense of being in the same room that we might be able to achieve, kind of doing that hybrid. Okay.
Councillor Cadeau.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'm just wondering, and this is being nitpicky, and you can take this or leave this, but having the camera on the computer as the only camera is somewhat problematic. Well, I would hate to be an audience and have to kind of look at me squinting at it and trying to read my notes. I'm just wondering if there's another option to get a side mount camera or something, just so we can have access to our computer. And, if we want our notes, people don't have to look at us squint or up our nose or whatever awful image they may get.
Yeah, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Shantz. What we have done in the past is we provided a second device for council. We were actually having trouble with the previous council had iPads that could only do one thing at a time. So if you were on a Zoom meeting and then went back to check your notes, you would lose your video feed for a little bit. So some of this was a growing and learning opportunity as we went through COVID. We could always, we have some of those iPads still in stock. We could put those out and we could give a second screen. It's just a little bit more setup for IT at the start of the meeting, but I think that would be doable if it's something you'd like.
Would that be a double screen, like a, what I'm talking about, if you've got 2 screens and it's a 1-2.
Yeah, what we did before was we basically just set up an iPad screen. So it's a video and it's a second screen that you could have, the Hollywood squares of Zoom, and it would just be running Zoom. And then the second device, the device we've given council, could be your notes or agendas or any other comments that you have prepared.
Okay. And I think the second part of your question, it had to do with a different camera angle.
Yeah, I think that they would cover that if, the secondary device, I think
Just
covers that.
have a stand or something for it. Okay, anything else on that? That was for information and feedback. You have what you need?
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. So I heard we're going to keep going ahead with the individual videos. We'll try to provide a device. Sorry, a second device in chambers. Will probably be an old model iPad for you. IT will set that up. The one thing, and I got a lot of other really good feedback from council. The other thing, just asking for sort of direction from all of council. What are we looking at in terms of timing for the public to be allowed in back in chambers?
I think you suggested the 23rd of January as a possibility. there was a suggestion about budget during budget. Were you thinking just delegates?
I think that's really a good place to start, to give people a chance to come before us and speak.
Is that something that you can put in place for budget? The rest of council? Yes, thumbs up. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. I think we can do all that, and we'll be ready for budget meetings in January.
Okay, short of anything crazy going on. You almost hate to even think about that, eh? Okay, our next report is amendment to the delegation bylaw, and Clerk Smith, you're up again.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. I think this is my last one for tonight. This report really, we probably wouldn't have brought to council, but we did have a changeover in council, and the direction from the previous council was to, in response, partially in response to Bill 109, was to delegate additional responsibilities to the Director of Development Services. So we did provide, Bill 109, you probably heard a few different reports from us in terms of the impacts of that. But in terms of this bylaw, we're recommending that council delegate the authority for holding symbol removals and other minor applications to the Director of Development Services. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there questions? Councillor Cadone.
Thank you. Excuse me, Mayor, through you to Clerk Jeff. Clerk Smith. Clerk Jeff Smith, whatever you want to be called tonight. When I'm reading this recommendation, is it just those two items that it's changing then? Because when I read that are minor in nature, that's so subjective that it leaves concerns in my mind.
Yes, through you, Mayor Shantz, there are considerations under the Planning Act in terms of what is minor in nature. And the other piece to that is we definitely won't be doing anything. I mean, even I'm thinking about the holding symbols, but we've been talking about something like removing the holding symbol for a gravel pit. That's definitely not something that staff would just take on themselves. So while council delegates this authority to staff for expedited processing, we will still bring back any matters of significant community interest or any matters of a political nature to council. These would really just be sort of the holding symbols where we're talking about technical pieces that are outstanding, and other minor applications really that are consistent with that definition under the Planning Act.
Any other questions? Okay. I guess I would just ask if we give this delegation of authority, is there a mechanism to remove it at some point down the road if we saw fit?
Yes, to you, Mayor Shantz, you can always amend that delegation of authority bylaw. One of the things that we have done with it is to try to keep everything in one place so you know where it all, where everything is. And you can always review that. And if you want to remove anything, we can always look at that.
Okay. Councillor Bryant.
Through you, Mayor, pardon me, Mayor Shantz to Jeff Smith. Can we be informed when holding symbols are removed so that we can keep an eye on what is happening so that all of a sudden we're not getting something thrown at us and we're going, hey, wait a minute, we didn't know this was happening?
I'm very sure we can do that. What I can do is I can work with the Director of Development Services, and we'll just sort of look at what that notice to you looks like, but I'm sure that can happen.
Just like a quarterly or semi-annual sort of report?
Yeah, it's just something to keep us informed, because sometimes the public will come out with questions, and if we don't know, then at least we can have something. So we say, yes, we were aware of this and we know it's a minor one, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. I just don't like being blindsided.
Okay, yeah, CEO Brenneman just suggested that we would be informed as they happen, and then you won't be blindsided. If we wait quarterly or semi-annually, then that could happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So would someone like to move the recommendation then? Councillor Schwint, seconded by Councillor Bryant. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Next is a zone change application, Memorial Ave Properties, 9 Memorial Ave. And this is planner David Gundrum. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Shantz, members of council. I'm just going to switch over and share screen to an image from the agenda that concerns this application. And I'll just be speaking to the image for additional information and clarity regarding the application. So can everyone see that okay? Great.
Yes.
So the following report concerns zone change application 8-2022 for Memorial Avenue Properties, Inc. This is concerning subject property that's located at 9 Memorial Avenue, which is shown here in this image. This property has been the site location of the law offices of Woods, Clemens, Fletcher, and Cronin for a number of years, which is located within the existing 2-story Century home shown here on the site plan. The application proposes to rezone the approximate rear half or rear yard portion of the site from the current residential mixed high density R5 zone to place this portion of the site within the buffer commercial urban C2 zone to allow for future construction of an approximate 223 square meter or 2,400 square foot addition to the existing 2-story dwelling. As well, the proposed rezoning would allow the development of the rear yard portion as a new outdoor surface parking lot that would have a total of 16 off-street parking spaces, including 1 accessible space. The public meeting for this zone change application was previously held with previous council on October 31st, 2022. In support of the application, the applicants have submitted a planning justification report prepared by Patterson Planning Consultants to address applicable portions of the provincial policy statement, the growth plan, the regional official plan, and the township official plan. Township staff have agreed with the findings of the third-party justification report that the proposed zoning change can be supported through applicable land use policies. The general official plan policies for the Elmira urban area state that in reviewing development applications that involve reurbanization or intensification, that the township will ensure that such development respects the scale, physical character, and context of existing neighborhoods. As the proposed site intensification associated with the zone change would occur entirely within the rear portion of the site as shown here, and would not have any direct visual impact upon Memorial Avenue and its streetscape. The proposal has been found to be consistent with township official plan policies that regard reurbanization within the Elmira urban area. Dovetailing with this, the existing streetscape for the property is not proposed to change, which would include the front facade, front yard, and street access to the property. All of these elements are proposed to remain as is currently today in lieu of the proposed redevelopment. The site-specific amendment would support expansion and continued growth of an established law office use that has existed for some time on the subject property, providing important legal services to the residents of Elmira and the wider area that would be consistent with the PPS, ROF, and Township official plan land use policies concerning service commercial uses, which are on full municipal services. In their comments to the township, the Region of Waterloo has identified that the subject property possesses potential for recovery of archaeological resources, and as such, the Region of Waterloo has requested that prior to approval of the zone change, that the proponents prepare an archaeological assessment to be completed by a licensed archaeologist, along with a ministry acknowledgement letter, all to the satisfaction of the region. In the interest of moving the application forward and to implement this request by regional planning staff, the proposed amendment has been written to include a related holding provision, which would apply to that portion of the site, the rear portion shown here, that will be subject to the zone change, prohibiting development from occurring until such time that the holding provision is lifted by Township Council or its designate. It should be noted for council that holding provisions are often used as a temporary measure where overall development of the site has been deemed appropriate through a zoning change. However, when technical items need to be finalized before the envisioned development can proceed. In this case, the identified need by the region for an archaeological assessment to evaluate potential for recovery of archaeological resources from the site is informing the need for this proposed holding provision. The recommended holding provision again could be lifted by an approved future bylaw council or its delegate. The proposed development and site expansion will be subject to future approval of a registered site plan agreement through site plan control and will be required to obtain necessary building permits for same. The proposed draft amendment text attached to the planning report reflects the items noted above, including the proposed holding provision. I'll stop sharing screen at this point. And again, planning staff, we are recommending that council move to approve the zoning change for 9 Memorial Avenue. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that members of council may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? I'll also note that Wes DeGroot and Tracy Cronin of Witzel Dice Engineering are here to answer questions as well if we need them. Nope, I'm not seeing any questions. So thank you, Mr. Gundrum, sorry. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Cadeau, second by Councillor Grant. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Patrick, you are up to explain cancellation, reduction, and refund of taxes, section 357.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
David's making a gestures here. His camera's not on.
I know taxation is exciting times, I know. But normally this type of report will be on a consent agenda for council in the future, but given the fact that this is the first time most of you would have seen this type of thing, I thought it'd be good just to kind of explain a little bit and give you the opportunity if you had any questions. You know, I think as the report indicates, section 357, 358 of the Municipal Act sort of spells out when properties can be considered for tax write-offs, you know, such as like they were had a demolition of a house, they were once assessed as commercial and now they're actually residential, so there's a reduction in that. And for us, this one here, we have about a $15,000 impact to us. It's a $68,000 write-off in total. $15,000 is our portion of it. The rest is going to be split between the region and the school boards. But I think one of the other things I really want to mention in the report is the fact that we don't identify the property. We just identify the I guess the role, the assessment role. And we do that for privacy reasons, because I mean, I'm not sure anybody would want to say that, yes, if I demolish something or something changed in my assessment, that's kind of something we deal with in a privacy matter. But as I said, you would see this in consent, but considering this is the first time, I thought I'd give this a little bit of a brief overview for council and see if you have any questions on it.
Council? Your report was fabulous.
And exciting.
There are no questions.
And exciting, I hope.
Definitely exciting. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Schwint and seconded by Councillor Burgess. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, Mayor's report on regional matters. We're just getting started at the region as well, and having orientation and budget meetings and all of those good things. So I do try to forward to you our summary at the end of our council meeting, and our council is meeting tomorrow night. What's today? Monday, Wednesday evening is regional council. So I'll certainly forward the summary of decisions after that. Are there other council reports and updates? Councillor Bryant, did you want to do that now or?
Whenever you want to put it in, it's up to you. You want me to do it now?
Do now. Yeah.
Okay. I just have a request. I've had a request from a resident in Maryhill, and we would like to see both sides of the Maryhill Road from the Walled Cemetery down to St. Charles made a no parking zone on both sides of the street for a couple of reasons. One being the sight lines are terrible. There's a parking lot beside the church. There's overflow parking beside the cemetery, the new cemetery. But people are still parking all over the side of the street for church and other functions. At one point, somebody lost a side mirror off a vehicle because it gets narrow, especially in the winter when snowbanks start to get piled up. We now have the fire department north of the village because the fire hall's been torn down, so they need clear access to the Mary Hill Road. And if you've got vehicles parked on the sides of the street, it makes it a little tougher for these big vehicles to get down. So I think for safety concerns, plus a member of the church maintenance crew has asked if we could make it a no parking zone. I think it would be a safe thing to do.
Okay, is that something you can work with Mr. Poupé on?
Yeah, I have passed that information on, and if Jared could work with us and turn that into a no parking zone, it would be great, particularly because of the sight lines.
Yeah, Jared?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councilor Bryant, absolutely, we can look at that and follow up when we do our traffic and parking bylaw updates. I'm not sure what that schedule looks like right now, but we can certainly get back to you with that.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we have an outstanding activity list. Anyone have any questions, comments on that? Okay. There are no notices of motion. I would look for a motion that the following bylaws in the hands of the clerk be read a first, second, third time and finally passed, and that they be numbered as bylaw number 69-2022 to 73-2022, and that they be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with a corporate seal. And you can read those in your package. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Grant, seconded by Councillor Bryant. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councillor Grant. Seconded by Councillor Cadeau. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And thank you to council and to staff. Council would also like to thank all those who participated or tuned in to the meeting tonight on our YouTube live stream. I'll remind council to stay connected until we receive the confirmation that the live stream has stopped. And I would say happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all who celebrate at this time of year. And we'll see you again in the new year. 2023. It'll be a good one. Good night, everyone. Yeah, nobody wants to end.